traveling to another train of thought, one not from this century and challenging the status quo. You are now entering the paradigm shift.
Well, good morning. Let's see, today's Tuesday. Good Tuesday morning. 12/11/2018. This is alive, the paradigm shift, after a long hiatus. Mark Kreslin's, you made me do this. Mark has been riding me, saying I needed to get back on the air, and so here I am. We were unable to get everyone else's schedule together today to do a Mark and Suzanne show. I know there will be one later in the week. Just watch our Facebook page. It'll be up there. You'll see it. I know there's going to be a Wasatch report. And so we're going to have some shows this week. We're going to have some live shows. I just decided I was going to do one today. I've been thinking about a couple things, and I wanted to talk about them. So anyway, we have the Wasatch report. We have the Mark and Suzanne show. We just did a case in point. I think it was yesterday morning. We did case in point. It was live. It is now in the on our SoundCloud page. Please go there and subscribe to our SoundCloud page. There are 100+ of our episodes on there now. They're all free to download. All you have to do is hit the download button. You got it. So please go there. Subscribe. Go to our YouTube page. Now, I don't know how much longer there'll be a YouTube page. It sounds like that Google is going to get rid of Hangouts, and that's how we do all of our shows. That's part of doing the show through YouTube. In YouTube, you hit the click, start Hangouts, and we all get up in here in this virtual studio with Hangouts. So it sounds like that's going to go away. So we will probably go into Skype. If we go to Skype, that's it. There's no more YouTube. We will be doing only Radio Co., and that's the only place you'll be able to hear it. And please go to Radio Co. There's always something on. 24 hours a day, there's a show on. There's replays of Mark and Suzanne. There's Dave Benner's stuff on the Revolution. We have all kinds of stuff on there. Very, very good stuff. Mike Meharry and Thoughts from My Hairy Head. We got Shift Gold with Mike Meharry with Shift Gold, the Friday Gold wrap-up. We have just so much content on there 24 hours a day. Please go and listen. And, again, like us and subscribe on YouTube and SoundCloud. All right, enough of that stuff. So last week, there was a great religious spectacle in Washington, D.C. A former pharaoh. Yes, I saw you sneak in there, Suzanne. Suzanne just sent me a message. We had a new spectacle in Washington, D.C. One of our elected pharaohs, one of our elected kings passed away. And I'm not going to speak ill of him. I'm going to be honest. I voted for him. Back then I was asleep. I was, USA, kill them all, let God sort them out, bomb the world, neocon. I was just like everyone else. So I voted for him twice. Even in spite of the fact he said no new tax, read my lips, no new taxes, and then he raised taxes. So anyway, I'm not going to speak ill of him. As a president, in hindsight, he was not a good president, wasn't a great president. As a person, I have nothing against the man. He served during World War II honorably. There was a lot to like about the guy. So anyway, back to why I'm talking about him. We had this spectacle where was it held? The National Cathedral. And if you looked at it, this great edifice to what? Is it to God, capital G, or God, lower G, government? Obviously, it was the spectacle, the pomp and circumstance, and all the military choir and the military band, and it was a celebration of government. So, who is the most important thing about this? It was, they lauded the now dead pharaoh. And on the front row, there was all the former living pharaohs, elected pharaohs. And I'm calling them pharaohs for a reason, because this is what it was like. They brought his body from Texas to the Capitol building so the people could wander by and see their dearly departed elected pharaoh. Thousands went by, people crying, all upset about the death of a man that has been the elected pharaoh for 20 years. We have the big pomp and circumstance. We have the worship of this sun god in our big cathedral that is where the seat of power is today. And what happens after they fly him back on a big jet, put him into another place, have another big praise service to our dearly departed elected pharaoh, and then they bury him at his pyramid, the presidential library. You see the symbolism here. I mean, when you put it that way, it's not hard to see that we are not very different than what Egypt was. The worship of their sun god, the pharaoh, the worship of the seat of government, his throne rooms, then creating great spectacles of grandeur to entomb their body for all eternity. I know Suzanne's in here, and she wrote an article, and you need to look it up. It's on the 10th Minute Center. I'm not going to just look it up. I'm not going to share it. Look on the 10th Minute Center. There are all kinds of good articles on there. But one of hers was the God of Government, the religion of government. I can't remember the exact name of the title, but it was a very good article describing just what I'm just talking about now. How we have replaced the uppercase capital letter G with the lowercase small letter g, God. We sing odes to God. We have a national anthem. We pledge our allegiance to the lowercase God. That's why Francis Bellamy wrote the pledge, to indoctrinate us into this whole idea that we owe allegiance to our God in Washington, D.C., the national government. And I use that word loosely because we are not a nation. We do not have... Back up there, because I almost said something incorrect. I almost said we do not have a national government. In fact, we do have a national government. We weren't supposed to, but we do. So, we have all the trappings of the religion of government. And this week it was on full display. And I hope that God gives peace to the Bush family in their time of loss. Losing a parent is a tough time. And I do feel sorry for the Bush family because it's a terrible time and it's difficult, especially going into this Christmas holiday. It'll be difficult for them having lost their dad. So I don't wish them ill. I don't wish ill on any of them. But we have come to the point where we have accepted this socialist, Marxist idea that government is a god. They can provide for all our needs. They can watch out for our well-being. Think about God, who provides our needs. He knows what we need. He provides for it. Now we expect government to fill that role. It's now the God that provides for our needs. It provides for our defense. It provides for our security. It watches to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do. I'm going to go a little side here on that. There was a post someone put on about gasoline prices. It had a little map, and it had all the lowest prices across this union. And someone posted something about why is it still $3 a gallon here? I said, well, taxes. Government. Government is the reason why you're paying so much. That's why I'm not. There were some of the prices on there were $1.69 a gallon for gasoline. Why? Because their states were better on taxes. We're paying for gasoline here. I don't know, $2.39, $2.49, something like that. So what's the difference between that $1.69 and $2.39 or $2.49? Government did. So I put on there, aren't taxes grand? And on top of that, and then I'm not sure which person posted it, but they also posted about the inflation. And I posted back, absolutely correct, because it's Dr. Ron Paul called that the hidden tax. They've devalued the dollar, and that's raised the price. But that's not why there's this big difference at this point between the states. That's all federal excise. That's all local taxes. Pennsylvania now is one of the highest gasoline tax state in the union. And that's what we are, a union. I want to go back now to what we were talking about. We are a union, not a nation. But we, in fact, do have a national government that now demands our love and affection and our allegiance. So not only, I'm not going to just at this point go after the federal government here, because complicit in all this are the states. And because I live right in the northern tier of Pennsylvania, and I work across the border in the state of New York, I have some interest in this area. New York panel recommends pay raise for lawmakers, statewide officials. This is in New York State. This just came out in the news the other day. A four-member panel voted Thursday to give state legislators their first pay raise in 2 decades. They haven't had a pay raise in 2 decades. But I'll read on because a lot of that will be explained. The New York State Compensation Committee agreed to phase in a pay raise for state legislators over a 3-year period, beginning in January. Salaries will increase from $79,500, so about $80,000, to $110,000. Annual salaries will raise to $120,000 in January 2020 and $130,000 in January 2021. If you do the math, that's about a 64% pay raise. So they're going to raise their wages 64% in 3 years. The hike will make New York lawmakers the highest paid legislators in the country. California pays the state legislators a base salary of $107,000. And so what do these legislators go there to do? They go there to write laws, to legislate, to steal from you, to give themselves this 64% pay raise, to transfer wealth to their protected classes or their chosen corporations. So here we have a 64% pay raise for legislators. Now, in the state of New York, there's a bunch of unions that represent these state employees. I'm just gonna leave it at that. There's PEF, PEF. There's CSEA. There's NYSCOBA, which is part of a police benevolent association. And I know personally that the NYSCOBA Their last contract was a 7-year contract with 5 years of zeros and 2 years of 2%. 4% over 7 years. And here, they're going to give themselves 64% in 3. And back then, when they did that contract, they were saying, oh, the state has broke. We have no money. Can't afford to pay these people more in wages. And now they can't even pay. They're fighting to pay over the paying of them 2% pay raise over 4 or 5 years. Government is out of control, whether it's federal or state. Quite honestly, they're both bloated and out of control. They are drunk on their power. And it's time for peaceful divorce, whether it's secede from the state of New York and set up your own governance in your home area. Pennsylvania, same way. It's not much different in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania used to be much better taxes, but now, in all reality, it's almost as bad as New York. The only thing that's better is that Pennsylvania has lower income taxes. They steal it from you coming and going, and they're complicit with the federal government because they know that they're going to get kickbacks out of the money that they let the federal government steal. It's time to rethink what we're doing. That's where this is all going. It's time to rethink how we govern ourselves. I mean, a good book, and Suzanne knows it, is Rethinking the American Union for the 21st Century. It's time to start thinking about scale. Even the state of New York is out of scale. It cannot govern this many disparate people. New York City is completely different than upstate. Buffalo is completely different than the very far north, what we call the frozen brain country, because it's so cold. It's right there on the Canadian border. All the regions in New York are different. They have different goals. They have different political leanings. And it is time that the state of New York breaks up because they can't govern this size of people. And if it's ungovernable at this level, how is it even governable? How can you even defend a government in Washington, D.C. that's trying to govern 320, 330 million people? It's absolutely impossible. So, who are we going to worship? God, capital G? Or are we going to keep worshiping government, God, small g? Unfortunately, I think the answer is that most are going to be on board with the small g God. And it's really interesting. I don't have the story, and I didn't plan on talking about this, but it's very interesting that this week the black robe messiahs, the black robe, what do you call them, Suzanne? The judicial temple monkeys. The judicial temple monkeys, the black robe, politically connected lawyers in their dresses, their costumes, refused to hear the Planned Parenthood case. So, in essence, and I'll disagree with somebody on Facebook about this, in essence, because that person was saying that, it's we just got to sit and wait and see now because it really makes it. They didn't do anything. Well, I disagree. I say that what they did is they let the lower court set precedent, and what do they all go by? Precedent, of course, not what's constitutional, whatever that is anymore. They set a precedent, and now that's going to be the law until at some point people decide they're going to just ignore the courts, which is what they should be doing because they don't have authority over this issue. But it's time to recognize that these people aren't going to be the ones to fix this. I know that there's a lot out there that were, Kavanaugh. Well, he sided with Roberts and the liberal, whatever that is, liberal court justices, and did not hear the case. And I tried to figure out what Clarence was saying. I'm not quite sure what his point was. He was saying they should have heard it, but I think that was so that they could make a decision and to make that the law of the land, quote unquote. I don't know that he was really against the decision. You couldn't really tell. It was very vague what he was trying to say, and I couldn't figure him out. But I suspect what he was talking about is we just need to make a decision, and then then we will have ruled on it, and now everyone must obey us. The 9 little judges in their black dresses. All right, I'm going to take a break. Hey, and Suzanne, you're going to like this. I decided today my break. I'm going to take a little bit longer break. I'm going to play that Tristan, I think it was Tristan Dunn's song. That'll give me about 3-minute break here. And so you'll like that. So enjoy this song. This is from someone that Suzanne knows. It's I can play it because there's no copyright on it they gave us permission to play it. So I can actually play something other than that free music you always hear. So this is the paradigm shift. And I was kind of rambling this morning. When I come back, we're going to talk about Afghanistan and Trump's reversal, and now he's going to stay there, whatever. So we're going to talk about that after the break. This is the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flame. Wow, it's been a long time. I haven't done this in a long time, so I shut myself off before I finish that. This is the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.
Out of the grocery store just the other day, saw my flag waving in the wind, said throw that trash away. I said, ma'am, I am a Christian man and I bleed American pride. That flag's gonna stay right where it is, and here's my reason why. Granddaddy's ball, that fella wood, and my uncle had Normandy. And their blood ran through my daddy's veins, and that blood still runs through me. My family's all stood ready when the wolf drowned at the door. So when you curse that flag, you curse their names to still come back for more. You can say what you want to say, and you can do what you want to do, but I've got the right to wave my flag of freedom, and I don't care how it upsets you. You can scream and cuss, you can make a fuss, you can curse my name all over town, but I'll tell you right now that the flag ain't coming down. No, that flag ain't coming down. The stars and stripes are all red, white, and blue. You've got that right to express yourself, but I've got that right too. So you can say what you want to say, and you can do what you want to do, but I'm gonna keep on waving my flag of freedom. don't give a damn just how it offends you. You can scream and cuss, you can make a fuss, you can curse my name all over town. But I'll tell you right now that the flag ain't coming down. Oh, that flag, no, that flag, no, that flag. It ain't coming down.
Well, welcome back to the Paradigm Shift here on the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny. And as you heard, I didn't change the tracks before I hit play, and you started to hear the open again. It has been a long time, hasn't it? I have been very remiss in doing my show. So, before the break, I said we were going to change gears. We're done with the George Bush funeral. We're done with talking about the God of government. We're just going to move on to a different subject now. I don't know how many of you back during the campaign for the president remember all the campaign promises. We had then candidate Trump saying how they were going to defund Planned Parenthood. They were going to appoint people that were going to overturn Roe and all this other stuff that, you know, the pro-lifers were very happy to hear. And then a bunch of us who were against all these endless wars, these interventions overseas, we were happy to hear that he was going to stop the nation building. And by that, we took that to mean that he was going to withdraw us from all these wars and stop this madness around the world where we're killing people every day in undeclared wars. We never Where's the declaration of war against Afghanistan? And if there was a declaration of war, why haven't we won yet? Why haven't we wiped them out? If this is a war, go in there, wipe them out, win, and then we're done and we can go home. But here we are. It's 2018, almost 2019. In just a few months, this war will be 18 years old without a declaration of war. So we had a bunch of us voted for Trump because he said a few of the things we believed. I didn't agree with everything about Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a savior and change Washington, D.C. But I thought there might be some things around the edges that might change, like the defunding of Planned Parenthood. While we were talking before the break, that a state tried to cut their funding, and the courts decreed that they couldn't. And the 9 politically connected lawyers in black dresses in Washington, D.C. didn't try to overturn it or didn't hear it. They just let the precedent stand. So he didn't fulfill the defunding Planned Parenthood. Neither did the Republicans, for that fact. There's no change in the courts in their rulings on the murder of babies. There's no change in this never-ending, endless, undeclared war where we're killing thousands of people, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people every year all over the world. And we've never even said we're at war with them. We're just dropping bombs on them. We're using drones. We're shooting missiles at people and killing people. So here we go. Trump, who once backed withdrawal from Afghanistan, will try to sell the nation on deeper involvement. It's another challenge for a president who rose to popularity as a sharp, elbowed commentator on the public arena, now being forced to confront the tough realities of war and peace through the lens of American security and interests in what has become the nation's longest war. Like I said, we're coming up on the 18-year mark. We're still having our youth killed, maimed, and their mental health destroyed over there for whatever reason. They're saying security, but who knows? I mean, is there anyone out there in our messages on Facebook or on Facebook? Just post in there. Tell us, what are the objectives? Does anyone know? I don't know. Are there any objectives? Suzanne, if you can put in the message thing, are there objectives? And we even know? Why are they there? Militants serving the Taliban, Islamic State, and other militias have wrought more violence and instability in Afghanistan over the past year, increasing pressure on Western forces brought in to bolster overwatched Afghan security forces. Trump delivers this speech, an important milestone in any presidency, as his temperament and focus have been criticized by influential lawmakers in his own party and by a public who, according to polls, has not been convinced of his leadership abilities. Who is writing this anyway? Where was this one? Oh, LA Times. The LA Times, the bastion of conservatism. Oh, whatever that is, too. Who knows? Conservatism, liberalism, yeah, whatever. Even as he prepared for the sobering task Monday night, he showed his penchant for distraction, tweeting a morning complaint about the very dishonest fake news media, blah, blah, blah. Oh, let's see. I'm going to skip all that junk and all his tweets. I don't care. He can tweet all he wants. I don't care. Does anything Washington, D.C. really matter? I know it does, because they're stealing from us constantly. They keep increasing what they steal. They take our liberty every day. All right, so less than 4 years later, Trump is expected to authorize some 4,000 more U.S. troops for terrorism missions, as well as U.S. advisors who will work on the front lines, blah, blah, blah. So, candidate Trump told us we are going to leave. Now, President Trump is going to increase forces. And what about this all up? We're man time. 10:30. Good. So what brought this all up? Let's see here. Let's get back to where it was. Oh, I lost it. All right. See if I can get back there quickly. Okay. Oh, boy, I'm sorry about this. I had it all pulled up, and now it's gone. Oh, here we go. All right. I'm not going to tell you who posted this. It doesn't matter. I don't know this person. But I'm going to read the post. And then it'll make more sense where this is going. He is Trump. If he intended to withdraw by Election Day 2020, saying so now would cripple the U.S. negotiating position today. How many times have we heard this argument about Trump? Oh, he's the master negotiator. He's the master at 4D chess. I don't know how many times I've heard that one. Oh, sorry about that. Moving papers around and his 4D chess and all this other stuff. He's the master negotiator. So my response to this is negotiate what? The opioid profits. Oh, I had an article. I'm not going to read it. It doesn't matter. Opioid production is up over 36% there. They're producing more opioids than the demand even can cover. So the opioid fields are raging in Afghanistan. So we going to have to negotiate those profits? Oh, I know, I said. We need to negotiate the theft to transfer to the military-industrial complex. Well, that is closer to the point. Now, this isn't a new article. This was from 2017, and a lot of these numbers I'm going to quote here are from 2015. This is an old article. I didn't have time this morning to find a newer article. Excuse me. But this illustrates why we can't leave, why we must negotiate. He's not going to negotiate. We're going to stay there because we have to. We need to be there because these people need this money. Okay, top 20 companies profiting the most from war. And I'm not going to go the whole 20. This is from CNBC, I believe. And it's a Thomas C. Froelich from March 5/31/2017. Like I said, this is not a new article. These numbers are from 2015, but it illustrates what we're talking about. And these numbers only got worse. If I found some recent numbers, I guarantee you the 2018 numbers dwarf these numbers in here. They didn't go down. I'm sure that the numbers are much worse than this today. Because, honestly, the conservative end, we've spent $4 trillion on this undeclared war. The top end I've been seeing is $8 to $10 trillion on this undeclared war. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere between that $4 and $10 trillion. Why do you think we are nearly $23 trillion in debt now? They keep having to borrow every year more and more because they can't collect. They can't steal enough from us to cover what they're spending. We are going to reach a tipping point at some point. I don't know when that is. That at some point, the debt's going to be too much, and it's going to be called. Somebody's going to say, give us our money. China, Russia, somebody. They're going to say, give us our money. Japan. So anyway, the 20 most companies that profit from the war. National security and warfare are big business. You think? The U.S. government spent $598.5 billion, over half of its discretionary budget, on military and weapons technology in 2015. It's now about $1 trillion a year in 2018. It's just under $1 trillion. So these numbers here, aren't even touching what they're doing now. The 100 largest arms producing and military services company across the globe sold an estimated $370.7 billion worth of arms that year. In the latest annual report, Top 100 Arms Producing and Military Service Companies, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute estimates arms sales for companies around the world using financial documents and reports of sales in national ministries and departments of defense. 24/7 Wall Street reviewed the 20 companies with the largest arms sales in 2015. And I'm not going to read the rest of the article, but I will go to this page. I'm going to give the top 6, because the top 6 will be very, with the exception of probably one most of you heard of. I know who this number 3 is. I know that company. Not a lot of people have ever heard of it. So number 6, in 2015, so this number is way under what it is today. General Dynamics. They had arms sales of $19.24 billion. Then number 5, Northrop Grumman planes, $20.06 billion. Raytheon, the bomb maker, our good friend Sean Hoffine, who doesn't ever talk about it because he can't. And trust us, he's never said a word. And I take that to the bank. Read my lips. He's never said a word. Raytheon, $21.76 billion. BAE Systems, number 3, $25.51 billion in arms sales. Boeing, $27.96 billion in arms sales. Lockheed Martin, number 1, $36.44 billion in arms sales. So, the question then comes back. What are Trump's negotiations trying to accomplish? What is he trying to negotiate? As this person says, I talk with my hands, folks. If you're watching YouTube, you know I talk with my hands because I just hit my mic. You just heard it. If, as this person's correct, that he can announce a date because he needs to have his negotiating position set. You can't give it away. What is he negotiating? Who's he negotiating with, and what's it for? It's not to end. It's not to destroy the enemy, quote unquote, in Afghanistan. That's not what he's negotiating. He's not trying to negotiate an honorable peace and withdraw from there. So what's he negotiating? These billions and billions of dollars. I just did the Dr. Evil pinky to the edge of my mouth thing for those that aren't watching on YouTube. These billions and billions of dollars for these defense contractors. He has to keep this going. He has to keep all this money just pouring into these corporations that he's stolen from us, or he's stolen from future generations because we don't have the money to pay for all this. So they're borrowing $1 trillion a year. This year's going to be $1 trillion. They're going to borrow $1 trillion. $1 trillion. That maybe your children or great-grandchildren will have to pay back. Our generation is enslaving future generations. Shame on us. What's he negotiating? He's negotiating that make sure that Boeing, General Dynamics, BAE Systems, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, all these companies keep getting big earnings at your expense. And don't be fooled. This is not just bashing Trump and the Republicans. This is not just a Republican thing. This is also a Democrat thing. I mean, Pelosi's husband, has a defense consulting firm, and he has been making hundreds of millions of dollars off all of this. How do you think these people go to Washington, D.C., middle class, and all of a sudden end up being multimillionaires? Because they steal our money and give it to themselves. Is it not time to look at, my shirt today? You guys on YouTube can read it. If at first you don't succeed, try again. There you go. Isn't it time to talk about getting this back into some semblance of scale? If you read that book, you'll hear about scale. 20th century. I had the book right here by me. I don't. rethinking the American Union for the 21st century. So, all right, let's take another break. This time I have it pulled up, so you're not going to hear my opening, and you're not going to hear the last song because it's gone. And so the stupid producer, me, has it right this time. All right. This is the Paradigm Shift on the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.
Citizens, soldiers, I'm here at the order of General Robert E. Lee, commanding all Virginia forces. On April 15th of this year of our Lord, 1861, Simon Cameron, the Secretary of War of the United States, sent a telegram to our Governor, John Letcher, directing him to raise 3 regiments of infantry to be sent to assist in suppressing the Southern Confederacy. Governor Letcher's answer is well known to you, but perhaps not his words. His wire to Washington stated, "You have chosen to inaugurate civil war. And having done so, we will meet you in a spirit as determined as the Lincoln administration has exhibited toward the South." 2 days later, the Virginia legislature voted for secession. Just as we would not send any of our soldiers to march in other states and tyrannize other people, so will we never allow the armies of others to march into our state and tyrannize our people. Like many of you, indeed most of you, I've always been a Union man. It is not with joy or with a light heart that many of us have welcomed secession. Had our neighbors to the north practiced the less bellicose form of persuasion, perhaps this day might not have come, but that day has been thrust upon us like it was thrust upon our ancestors. The Lincoln administration required us to raise 3 regiments. Tell them we have done so.
Cerberus Radio Network, protecting liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.
Well, welcome back to the Paradigm Shift here on the Cerberus Radio Network. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm glad to be back. I'm just a little rusty with the producing my show and doing it at the same time, and I've been really remiss in getting back to this. And hopefully this will become, I will make every effort to get this back into the lineup on a regular basis. And hunting season's over, so that is not an excuse any longer. You spend a lot of time out looking for deer during hunting season. Suzanne's her hunting season's over, so that is not a draw. Now, there will probably be some break here coming up very shortly for Christmas because, honestly, this time of year is about family, and we'll take a break probably just before Christmas. The live shows will end. You'll be able to hear what's on the loose on our radio feed. Again, like I said, there's always something on. And then after the new year, we will return, hopefully with some new shows, hopefully with a lot more of the regular shows that are already on. Again, like I said, the Mark and Suzanne show, the Wasatch Report. Hopefully Greg Carpenter will be able to get some more of his Liberty Minutes up, so I can post them on our feed as well. We have hopefully Dave Benner will be able to start getting some podcasts. He's not going to do live shows, but he's going to do some podcasts, and we're going to put them on. I'm hoping we have a lot of new content after the new year. And in that vein, if you think you got radio in you, give us a call. Message us on Facebook. We'll talk about it. We have some other people we're talking to. Suzanne and I, we need to get into a chat. Suzanne, I'm telling you online. I'm telling you live on radio that we need to talk to that one person that you sent my way. So anyway, we have the problem. I just want to finish up this thought. We have this standing army that's being used around the world. And what did the founders fear just about more than anything? A standing army. And what did Madison say? The founding armies, they destroy our liberty. They take away our freedom. And are we more free today or less because of our standing army? And this is okay. This isn't a knock against our veterans. I'm not denigrating them. What I am denigrating is our general government, our federal government. What we have, a national government. Because they use this as a pretense to steal our wealth to give it to, whether I read off that list of the top 20 or the top 6 of the top 20. Those companies are getting rich off of your money. Government doesn't, that's not government's money. They're stealing your wealth to give to them. And again, like I said, this isn't a Republican thing. And on the other side, if you want to do the Democrats are stealing your wealth to give to people that aren't working for it. They both have constituent classes that they're stealing our wealth to give to. Again, it's time to look at real solutions. All right. I haven't talked about this subject in a while, and I don't like beating on it too much, but it's relevant again because it's in the court system here in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania transgender bathroom case splits U.S. appeals court. 4 judges on the federal appeals court in Philadelphia on Thursday urged the body to revisit a key part of its decision to let transgender students in a Pennsylvania school district use bathrooms and locker rooms matching their gender identity. So, in short, we had a school district. They said that people who are biologically there's only 2 sexes, male, female. That's all there is. We don't have anything else. There's 2. So people that are biologically one sex want to be treated like they're the other sex and want to be able to use the bathroom of that other sex. So you have girls going into the boys' bathroom and you have boys going into the girls' bathroom. And the courts are forcing, well, the school district's doing it. People sued the school district in federal court. Why? Was it a federal law? Was it federal people that made the school district do it? No. Should have been in a Pennsylvania court. And a Pennsylvania court should have told them, no, there's 2. But no, we have now courts that make new law. But based on, this goes right back to Suzanne's case in point yesterday. What do they do it for? For their own policy preferences. They would like this policy. So what do? They force it on everyone. So this it was a 3-judge panel. The judges all appointed by Republican presidents. Imagine that. Said a 3-judge panel of the third. Okay. So the judges that were appointed by Republicans are all saying the 3-judge panel of the Third U.S. Circuit, the Court of Appeals, went beyond what was necessary in suggesting that the Boyertown Area School District policy might be required under Title 10, a U.S. law barring gender discrimination by schools that receive federal funding. So they're not opposed to the transgenders in the bathroom. They just think they went too far by applying this Title 10. They said the entire appeals court should rehear the case and set out an appropriately limited rationale for our result. So they're not saying that they're going to change the outcome, that they're just going to make it a little less. They're going to limit it a little bit and make it a little less intrusive or whatever. Non-transgender students have until October 9th to request such a hearing. Because there were students that sued the school district because their rights to privacy. Again, here's where we have this problem again with this whole idea of rights. Because all these people, these court made up rights. This right to murder babies, this right to privacy, we have natural rights. We have inherent rights. And perhaps we have an inherent right to privacy. I've never really given that much thought. I don't know. But these rights have been forced on us by these judges. That you have a right to privacy. So once they force it on us, what do? It gives them and the government power to regulate what privacy is. So now we have school districts forcing students to have students of the opposite sex in the bathroom with them, in the showers with them, in the locker room. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with teenage boys having teenage girls in the same locker room with them? What could possibly go wrong? And vice versa. What could possibly go wrong with having teenage boys in the same locker room with the teenage girls? Nothing could possibly happen. But these policy preferences, these judges are going to pass them. Boyertown policy has been challenged by some non-transgender. Why non-transgender? Because they're not enlightened yet, I guess. The school hasn't indoctrinated them enough. Why do you think I often say that people need to exercise their own form of secession? And what do I always say is one of the easiest ways to secede? Withdraw your consent from the public schools. Why are you sending your kids to these indoctrination camps? Do you not love them enough to actually teach them values? Have your family teach them values at home? I know. This society now, with all these taxes and everything else, you both have to work. Well, an hour's gone. I got 56 seconds left. Stop going to federal court. That's all I can say about this. And you know what? Elect members that are going to end this madness. And say no to the federal government when they say, well, Title 10 says you have to. Well, no, we aren't. I'm really remiss in my... Let's see here. I'm remiss in my duties here. The music should be well along here. The show's over. I don't... It's pretty incredible how fast 60 minutes go. So, well, folks, thank you for listening to the Paradigm Shift today. We will be back with some more shows, and this week there are going to be some shows. So stay tuned, listen, watch Facebook. Thank you for listening. This is the Paradigm Shift on the Cerberus Radio Network, defending liberty and freedom from the flames of tyranny.